All right, welcome to the May 2023 PRA meeting. I am Anthony, KE7OSN, stepping in for Paul while he's out today. We'll start with introductions, going around based on the way it's laid out right now. We'll start with Olin.
Oh, I'm Olin, WA7YXY from Corvallis.
And then Paul.
Paul, W7PEB from Roseburg, or between Roseburg and Winston, the southern contingent.
Moving on, Ron.
Yeah, Ron Post, AE4JL in Millersburg.
And then I've got Brett.
I'm Brett, KJ7GPD up here in Tualatin.
Thanks for joining. Warren.
W7KBR over here in Dallas, Oregon.
Tyler.
Tyler, WB7DD, Southeast Corvallis, and if I remember correctly, last meeting I was wearing a sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's definitely, weather has changed quite a bit. Next up, Andy Noble.
Yeah, Andy, A7AD, southwest of Philomath.
And then Russ.
I'm Russ, W7AU. I'm in Corvallis, and I'm a CW guy, so that's why you never hear me on the air.
I'll have to drag you out to 7QP one of these days. You can compete with Scott. Next up, we have Mike.
Good evening. This is Mike, W7RIS. I'm located about 10 miles north of Corvallis in Soap Creek Drainage.
Next up, Anna.
Hi, I'm Annalise McDermott. You can call me Anna. I'm NH6Z, and I am in metropolitan Lebanon, Oregon.
And our other Andy, who's on mute.
Silent Andy.
Andy, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm brain dead. Anyway, I'm Andy, W7AAU, and I am between Corvallis and Tangent, Oregon in Lynn County.
Then we have Ted.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ted, W7RTM. I'm the club secretary, and I'm in the same road as Andy Noble.
And that brings us to last but not least, Bill.
Bill, KE7ZKH, Southeast Corvallis, neighbor to Tyler.
All right. So real quick, let's do the treasurer's report. Andy.
Okay, treasurer's report. As of May 14, 2023, our total assets were $4,458.47. And today I mailed off our Oregon Secretary of State annual report as a corporation and accompanied that with a check for $50. That's the treasurer's report.
Hey, Andy, did you get the liquor permit taken care of for the field day?
No, I did not. If somebody would like to proceed with that, they can. They required something different this year. They wanted an insurance policy to name the city of Corvallis as not being liable for anything. And we would have had to get the insurance company to write a policy with that clause written in it. And we can proceed with that. I just did not do that, but somebody else can pick them all up. I'll give them all the info they want. If we want to proceed, And of course, we will have to pay for it. I think it's gonna cost $100.
It cost us $10 in the past.
And it's went up.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I had never done it before, so I'm a complete novice at doing this, and it overwhelms me at the moment. So we have time to pick that ball up and run with it. If we decide, if we take a vote and decide to proceed with it, I will do so. But this is uncharted territory for me. We'd have to contact the insurance company, give them the quote of what the city said they wanted to be worded in the policy, and see if they'll do that.
You know, might just be an option to just BYOB, don't share, and they can't say anything to us.
Is that acceptable? I don't know.
I think it is. I mean, anybody else that rents a pavilion or something in Corvallis Parks, you know, if it's for a family of there, they don't have to get a liquor permit. It's if you're somehow or other sponsoring an activity that has liquor in it. So if you sponsor an activity that's dry, but people are camping out there and they want to have a beer in the privacy of their own camp, I don't see why they would be upset. I don't see why it would be circumventing their procedures.
That sounds reasonable to me. It's possible that we never did have to have a permit for somebody just to bring their own and consume it.
Well, we had the permit because the fact that we had the communal meals.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you wanted to pop a top while you were having a hot dog, that would be a cool thing. But if they want to price themselves out of that kind of a circumstance, that's their business. I can look into it.
Okay, yeah, it's
I give
there.
them a call.
It's there for anybody to proceed on that.
Yeah, and we are planning on having a little bit further discussion on field day later on, so we can go a little bit more into that when we get there. So next up would be the secretary's report. Ted.
Real quick, I'd like to ask Andy again, who you sent that $50 check to for the minutes. You sent it to Oregon's Attorney General?
No, Secretary of State.
Secretary,
That's the corporate annual report where it just names the officers with their contacts and a $50 check. I took a picture of it. I'm going to send it to you.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to get down who got the check is all.
Oh, yeah. I was going to forward that information to you, but by mail, because since it has the name and address of the officers on there, I didn't want to trust that to like email or something like that. So I'll put a copy of it in the mail to you, so you have a copy of it.
Okay. From my standpoint, I was remiss in sending the minutes out this month and only got them remembered Sunday evening. So if you'd like to fire me, let me know. That's okay.
I read it. I'm good with it.
Keep trying.
So if there are any updates, additions, deletions, let me know. W7RTM@ARRL.net. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'd like to make one more a reminder. I post a copy of a file that I have called the journal, my treasurer's journal, where I simply record the date and everything that I do, money's in, money's out, and any activity like I file that annual report and accompany a check to that. And that's in the Google Drive club Google Drive, and I have granted read-only permission to all of the board's members of the board of directors. And I can do so for anyone else in the club who would like to look at that. But that's, I keep that updated. Every time I update that journal, I update it on the Google Drive, so anybody can see the treasurer's activity, money in, money out, forms filed to whom and whatever. And of course, all of the balances of the accounts, the total of which I gave in today's report. Anthony also forwards to me all of the dues payments that are being taken, that take place on that automatic online due paying process that he has set up. But I also sometimes receive a check in the mail, and I deposit that, and I log that in and forward the information to Anthony so he can update the computer database with their membership information. But that's also uploaded to that Google Drive. So anybody in the board of directors can look at those, that information. And Paul and I have access to the bank account. And he's got checks, I got checks, so either one of us can write checks. They only allow 2 people on that account, so that's the bank's requirement. Okay, I'm done.
All right, thanks, Andy. So they let's see, next thing up is I'm going to turn it over to Mike for a recap of the activities from a couple weeks ago. So before we get into field day, the next event coming up just around the corner is CPAC. And I know Russ in particular is wondering if anybody is going that way that might be able to offer a ride. So I'll let Russ make your plea.
Yeah, I have a K4 on order that's being held up until they get the front end that's for better signal rejection for operating in contest for nearby stations. So that's mine. My order's delayed, but I kind of wanted to stop by the Elecraft booth and talk to them. Aside from seeing everything else, it's kind of hard not to go there.
Well, you definitely can't ride with me then. In all seriousness, I would offer you a ride, but I'm usually up there pretty early on Friday to get ready with stuff and everything, and I stay overnight 2 nights. So
yeah, I was just my plan was just one day on Saturday.
And then let's see, I'll be there, but I'll be traveling Thursday and won't be returning until Friday, or excuse me, till Sunday. I'll be headed back.
Well, Russ, we can always, I'll put it out to there's the email reflector for this group and the Aries group. So I'll put that out to them and see if anybody else is going that way. So we'll do our darndest to find you a ride.
Yeah. Well, I'll drive if I need to, but I've done that several times, and just for a day, I kind of wanted to avoid it if we could.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the other people you might ask, and I think, yeah, I'll put you in touch with Declan, the OSU club. That might be, though, if anybody's definitely going for probably a day trip, the OSU students might be in that boat. Yeah. So, and for those of you who don't know, Declan O'Hara, who has actually presented at one of these meetings when we were back in Tommy's, is the current president of the W7 OSU club. So they're working on doing some upgrades to the W7 OSU repeater, and the first thing on the list is going to be a pretty nice battery backup that they're putting together. So,
well, if anybody wants to see a real radio at CPAC, there will be a certain booth babe and a booth there that would be happy to show you one. Let me just hide my KX3 right now.
One of these days when I win the lottery. All right. And can anybody think of anything happening between now and field day?
Yeah, I take off on Wednesday for Dayton.
Oh, that's right. That hasn't happened yet.
Dayton is this weekend, so you might hear announcements coming out through on the internet and the woodwork and stuff that's been announced. I know ICOM announced stuff this year. I can tell you that Flex Radio will not be announcing anything this year, so don't be looking for anything. But other manufacturers might be. And I'll try and keep an eye out. And if I see anything interesting, as usual, I'll let people know at the next meeting. Or excuse me, it's Xenia now. It's not really Dayton.
Somehow I missed the communication on 7QP. I wasn't able to go, but I was interested in knowing which site they were going to and so on. How was the communications done on their coordinate who was going to be there and what communications we're going to have with field day?
So the 7QP, there is a because of the added logistics and planning that, there is a separate email list similar to the one that we use for the club. So, and we'll get you Mike's email to get on those lists for that that communication. But there is a Google email, a Google Groups email list for both 7QP and the group as large, and we'll get you, make sure that you're on both of those. You should definitely be on the group at large, and then the 7QP is a separate account that we can get you plugged into.
Now, which groups are those?
So it's Google Groups is the service, and there's one for the Peak Radio Association as in general, and then there's a second group just for the 7QP expedition. And Mike's the one that manages both of those, and so we'll get you in touch with Mike on.
Just send me an email, and I'll drop you into those email groups.
Thank you.
So you can just look me up on QRZ, and that'll get you the email address for me.
And I'm pretty sure if you can see his call sign in his name tag, you can probably guess one of a half dozen different services that will get an email to him. All right. So field day is coming up. So after everybody has spent all their money at CPAC and Dayton, bring all the fancy toys out to field day. So the plan is operating from the south end of Willamette Park at the old campground there in Corvallis. Basically, if you've seen the operation over the last how many years we've been there, it's been a few. It's basically the same thing. So same location, same time, same dates. Funny how those kind of things don't have to change a whole lot from year to year. That said, the biggest difference this year is the updated alcohol policy for the city. And the current park rules basically says permitting process for consumption alcohol in parks. In order to purchase an alcohol permit which allows the consumption of alcohol in city parks and or facilities, you must provide a certificate of insurance showing you have a $1 million general liability with host or retail liquor liability coverage. So from reading some of the other stuff from the city, it sounds like what requirements that the city's park management staff has been setting on alcohol consumption in city facilities there's a fair bit of discretion at the staff's up to the staff's discretion of what they can require. And it looks like that probably because at some point recently there was a problem of some sort or many problems of some sorts, that the rules have been updated and that any consumption of alcohol in the city properties has to accompany a permit with the liability coverage, which unfortunately is just added work for those that want to do that. So the biggest thing is our current policy through the ARL for insurance does not have the language that the city code requires for the coverage for the alcohol consumption. The city does say, a lot of times you can get that kind of coverage through a homeowner's insurance policy, and there are several companies that will sell 1 day or 24-hour event coverage. I have seen events in the past that have usually run some sort of have to get that coverage for a 24-hour period has usually been somewhere in the $100 to $200 range. Whether or not the underwriters through the ARL policy would be up to covering that as part of it or not, I'm not sure. But it will. That is a discussion to be had. It's the permit from the city itself is still like the $16 or $12 or something like that. So it's less than $20 for the alcohol permit itself from the city. But the biggest thing is the added cost of the liability coverage and getting the language specific to the city's requirements in a policy and getting that to them. So I don't know if anybody wants to have more discussion on that.
And I will add, as a former attorney who used to do defense in the Corvallis Municipal Court, I cannot count on my fingers and toes, and everybody's here fingers and toes, how many cases of misdemeanor crimes I've defended for people that are caught drinking in Corvallis public parks. It is not just a pay your fine and go. It is a Class C misdemeanor. It will be on your record. You will have a crime. So if I were your lawyer advising you, I would not drink in the public park without us having a permit to do so. It's not a slap on the wrist.
And I'm really quick trying to cover, there's one of the links that the city has is for a event insurance outfit. So I'm seeing what their what they think, or if they will give me a quote without having to fill out too much information. And I guess not. So yeah, I think at this point, we had put Andy and Paul, and I believe Mike, you were helped with some of that too, that it was decided to put pause on that part of the application for right now. And the city did say that, if we add that coverage and provide them proof of insurance and pay the permit fee, that's something that we can add on, basically up till the business day before.
I mean, I'm of two minds as far as, speaking, I guess, as a board member who has fiduciary responsibility for this sort of decision. On one hand, it seems like a lot of money just to be able to drink alcohol in the park, and a lot of time of volunteers here. On the other hand, I mean, the club is not hurting for $100 right now. I mean, we're actually relatively flush with the bank account and stuff, and we can't sit here and accumulate forever. Otherwise, we get in trouble with being a nonprofit and retaining too much cash. So, yeah, again, I'm kind of two minds on the whole thing. I guess I'd like to know who here is passionate about being able to have a beer while we're at field day. Because if nobody's all that passionate about it, it seems like a lot of work for people that are kind of maybe.
No, it's not a big deal for me. I just as good at drinking a Snapple that I am having a beer.
Yep.
I quit drinking, so I'm need to worry about me.
Well, I won't be there, except maybe for a few minutes, so.
I'm good with just drinking a Gatorade. I wouldn't spend money on it.
Gatorade Plus.
I'd say again, maybe proposing I don't know if we have quorum here of the board, but I'd say that we forget about it and not worry about it this year. And, again, warn people that if they do drink, then it's on them. And if a Corvallis police officer gets a wild hair, then you may be in trouble. But, speaking on a practical basis, none of us here look homeless, except for maybe Bill. And none of us look like we're under 25. So we're pretty good with Corvallis cops in general.
Yeah, I would concur that at this point. I think the kind of the not necessarily the decision, but the idea was unless somebody was really wanting to push for getting the permits and getting the insurance coverage, that we would leave it without. And it sounds like at this point, nobody's really gung-ho about doing either of those. So saves us a little bit of money that we can spend on something more useless. I'm thinking one of those inflatable tendril crazy things.
That would be awesome. With Peak Radio Association on it. I mean, yeah, we could get a custom one.
What does everybody think of the possibility of a helium balloon lifted antenna wire?
I've done it. I did that once.
How close is that to the airport?
We're within the 5 miles, so that becomes a pain.
We could
Well,
use
there-
a drone.
There is a minimum height before you can go before you reach FAA requirements.
So the rules say your maximum allowed height for a moored balloon or tethered balloon is 500 feet. However, that is if you are more than 5 miles away from an airport. If you're within 5 miles of an airport, there is a derating of that height that is roughly proportional to your proximity to the airport. And I had looked at some of this stuff back in college a long time ago, because we were looking at trying to do some unmoored balloon launches from the boat launch at the north end of the park. We were able to get the right blessings to launch weather balloons from there. But that was a whole, we were on the phone with the airport people a lot. So that was kind of a pain. And I think that was like 3 miles from the airport, and the south end of that park's puts you even a fair bit closer. So I think realistically you're looking at, I think it was like 150 foot limit or so on what you could hoist a balloon up to at around the area of the south end of the park, which isn't that much taller than some of the trees that we have available.
Well, that's right under the approach a path for that southbound runway.
Yeah, and I think we would definitely not want to have anything in the air anywhere near, even if we've checked all the boxes and all the regs, as Anna might be able to attest, there are certain battles that are easier just not to have. And from
Yeah,
a PR
it's really
standpoint,
trigger happy right now.
Murphy is our shepherd.
Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, I think one of those inflatable tentacle things, we could probably get one. I think we might be able to get one with Bill's face on it by
I know where you can get flags made.
What is this? Jump on Bill Knight?
When
Well,
is
if
it
you're-
not
if-
jump on Bill Knight?
Got to make sure you know you feel loved.
See, some people would just get if they couldn't have you for the whole event, some people would just get one of those like cardboard cutouts. We're gonna do one better.
Hate is my love language, Bill.
Yeah, just put my cutout in front of a hay bale and use me for archery practice.
We'd have you pointing towards the get on the air station.
Go here and be a ham.
Exactly. We were actually talking, we had one of the people with the sculpture races who had been like the race director for many years and had been participant for many years beyond that, happened to be working for an organization that was heavily supportive of various other community functions in the Eugene area last July, which happened to coincide with like the World Track stuff going on there. And so they ended up not being able to make it. And we were very, very close to purchasing a cardboard cutout of that individual so that they could still be in attendance.
Wow.
Fortunately, they did just come up for dinner, and that was logistically a lot easier because we don't have a place to store a cardboard cutout.
You missed the year that I was the kinetic commissar. That was back in the early days of the race.
All right. Anything else for field day? I
Yeah.
think
Couple things here is that we need to also at some point in time we'll be asking for a head count for food. I think we've already got approval for some amount of money for food and stuff. And then I'll also be putting out a schedule as far as when we'll be showing up at the grounds, and then kind of a little procedure we'll go through as far as placing people. It helps because this is a little tighter area here where we have some idea of who's coming, what kind of antenna they're using, if they have an RV and stuff like that, and get some idea of where we want to do placements for people there. Last year there wasn't that many attendees. It was pretty lean, so there was no dramas as far as worrying about where people got put. And that we'll try and get done. We got one more meeting right before field day.
I believe right before field day. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll try doing that, and then I'll also have a question out there about which logging program we want to use and do other odds and ends like that. We'll just do all of that stuff over email.
All right. And yeah, if you haven't gotten some of the club discussion emails, make sure to send an email to Mike with what email you want to have on that list. And he'll get you plugged in. And I swear we will not spam you as much as some of the other groups I'm in. I have one group I'm in that trying to get people in a volunteer organization where people have signed up to be volunteers to do stuff, getting them to actually do stuff is a whole different can of worms. And the individual that is in charge of doing that, coordinating that stuff, is very good at constantly reminding people that, hey, we don't have enough people signed up for this yet. Which is particularly fun when some of those events involve football games, especially because the football team announced their schedule like 4 months earlier this year than normal. So those communications have started 4 months earlier. But all right. So any other questions or discussions for field day before we move on? All right, not hearing any. So stuff to look out on the horizon for there is the I'm blanking on the name of the organization, the like Mid-Valley Cycle Club or something to that effect is having their Cover Bridge Century bike ride in early August. It's usually on a Sunday. They'll be looking for hams to provide communication support, both at fixed stations and as mobiles along the course. So stay tuned if you're interested in helping out with that. And then, oh, I almost completely forgot. So this coming weekend, I sent out an email to the list a little while ago about interest in it, but it is still on the schedule. So the Benton County Aries is, and Scott Gilbert in particular, is teaching a technician class on, so that will be this Friday evening, Saturday for the class. So if you know somebody who's interested in getting some lecture experience, that is a place to go there. And then the plan is to do an exam session on Sunday, about 11 a.m. We are really hoping that our supplies from the ARL show up in time. Scott emailed them a couple of weeks ago, and the plan is we're going to try and give them a phone call tomorrow and be like, hey, did you get that? And can we get the CSCEs so that we can fill the paperwork out for people? But along those lines, if anybody here is a VE with the ARL and interested in helping VE, let myself or Scott know. I never hurts to have more people to help set up the grading and stuff like that. And that is scheduled to take place at the Sunset Building, the Benton County Sunset Building on Research Way in Corvallis. So, and that interests you, feel free to let us know. And I think that is all of the main events that aren't contests coming up for the near future. And with that, I'll turn it over for, I believe Olin is probably our resident contest calendar guru. So
Yeah. I can run through that for you if you like.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first thing coming up toward the end of the month is the CQ Worldwide WPX CW contest. And this one, the multipliers are the number of prefixes you can get, different ones. So the more you get, the better. It starts Friday afternoon, the 26th, and goes through Sunday afternoon, the 28th, from 1700 to 1700. The next thing going on is W9M IMS, or W9 International Motor Speedway, and they sponsor a station, a special event station, for 3 events at the Speedway per year. One of them is already over, so getting a certificate is out. You need all 3, but they do have nifty QSL cards. So they got 2 more, the next one in conjunction with the Indy 500. And then, of course, we have CPAC, which I think has been mentioned a little bit, Field Day. And then 13 Colonies starts on the 1st of July and runs through the 8th. And so there are stations in each of the 13 colonies plus bonus station in England and 2 bonus stations in the US. But to get the 13 colony certificate, you need to get the 13 original colonies. I enjoy doing that. I've gotten a clean sweep twice, so it can be done. And then the next contest is the ARRL International Amateur Radio Union HF Championship. That's a 24-hour contest on July the 8th and July the 9th. And if you check your DX listings, there's a bunch of new DX that's going to be popping up over the summer months and into the fall. So to brag a little bit, the last CW contest, I picked up 2 new DX entities for me. One was Bosnia Herzegovina, and the other was the Balearic Islands, which most people will know as Mallorca. And then I also picked up Kenya, which was on the air, and Mongolia. So I got a bunch of new ones out of the contest, and they QSL'd right quickly on LOTW. So that's it.
All right. Thank you, Olin. And with that, do we have anything else for the good of the order?
I've got something, Anthony. I've got a radio that's for sale. I just want to throw it out there. If you guys are going up to CPAC, I got an Elecraft K3S and the Elecraft P3 and the Elecraft KPA 500 and then the Cat 500 tuner. So I'm selling it as a package. It was all assembled by Elecraft and has some filters and things in it. Voice recorder, the tuner. If anybody's interested, they can give me a call, W7KBR. You can look me up on QRZ if you want. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Warren. Anything else? All right. So with that, that's everything that we had on the schedule. So Anna, enjoy Dayton or suburbs thereabouts. And we'll see everybody at the next regularly scheduled meeting here next month. So take care.
Bye.
Good night.